Welcome to Heart Tales. Before we begin today's story, please take a moment to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much. Today's story is one that I'm sure everyone wishes they could be the male lead in. Haha. Hope you all enjoy the story. My best friend got me dead drunk and claimed he wanted to introduce me to his drop-dead gorgeous younger sister. The next morning, however, I woke up to a face beside me that was both familiar and terrifying, and I nearly evaporated on the spot. Wasn't this Willow, my wealthy ex-girlfriend who had vanished off the face of the earth after I dumped her back in college? Just as I was about to pull up my pants and bolt, a hand clamped tightly around my ankle. "Ethan, long time no see. What are you running for? It's not like I'm going to eat you alive." Alcohol truly is a double-edged sword, especially when you're drinking it with your bros. Lucas and I were college buddies who now worked at the exact same company. Our bond was so rock solid we could practically share a pair of pants. Last night, to celebrate the successful wrap-up of a major project, the two of us hit up a street vendor for some skewers. We chatted about everything from poetry and art to philosophy, eventually putting away a dozen beers. I clearly remember Lucas slurring heavily near the end, tossing his arm around my shoulder. "Ethan, man, don't go back to that dog kennel of yours tonight. Come to my place. 3-story villa, swimming pool, garden, you name it. Sleep wherever you damn well please." At that moment, only one thought crossed my mind. Holy crap, turns out he was a closet billionaire all along. So, in a half-baked haze, I let him shove me into a rideshare. Half-conscious, I was dragged into a brightly lit mansion. He pointed up toward the second floor, muttering incoherently. "Second door on the left is the guest room. Go sleep on your own. I'm done for." With that, he collapsed onto the sofa and started snoring like thunder. I stumbled my way upstairs. Before me stretched a row of identical doors. "Second room on the left, right?" I counted, 1, 2, pushed the door open, and locked it behind me in one fluid motion. The room was pitch black, but it carried a lovely, subtle scent, reminiscent of some high-end luxury perfume. At the time, I even thought, damn, my bro's got great taste. A big guy like him actually decorated his guest room with style. Without bothering to turn on the light, I fumbled my way to the bed and threw myself onto it. The mattress was incredibly soft, the duvet smelled amazing, and I buried my face into the pillow, passing out instantly. The next morning, I was brought around by the morning sunlight. A throbbing hangover headache made me feel like my brain was about to explode. I let out a low groan and rolled over. Wait, something feels off. The sheets beneath me were smooth, luxurious silk, completely different from the worn, scratchy cotton bedding in my own apartment. The fragrance in the air was far more distinct now. And most importantly, I seemed to be holding on to something. Something soft, warm, and distinctly supple. I froze, the thread of sanity in my brain snapping taut like a violin string. Slowly, bit by agonizing bit, I looked down. The first thing that caught my eyes was a waterfall of long, silky black hair spread across the pillow. Next came a face so pale and porcelain it almost seemed translucent in her sleep. Long, lush eyelashes rested like delicate little fans, framing a high bridge of a nose and cherry blossom lips that were naturally parted, her breath soft and even. She was breathtakingly gorgeous, so much so that my heart nearly skipped a beat and stopped dead in my chest. This face, a massive explosion went off in my head, as if 10,000 tons of TNT had detonated all at once. Willow, why on earth is she here? Wasn't she the wealthy heiress I had dated for 3 months in college, only to dump her with that dirt-cheap excuse? "I'm not good enough for you?" Back then, right after the breakup, she immediately processed her papers to go abroad. From that point on, she vanished without a trace, evaporating from the face of the earth. I genuinely thought I would never see her again in this lifetime. Why? Why was she sleeping in my friend's guest room? My pupils dilated wildly, my brain spinning at the speed of light. Could it be that Lucas, who looked so innocent on the surface, had actually snagged his bro's ex-girlfriend? No, that couldn't be right. He had never mentioned her. Or did I get dead drunk last night, and in his own stupor, he threw me into his girlfriend's bed? Holy crap, what kind of real-life NTR cuckold script is this? Did I just become the other man without even knowing it? No, no, no. I'm the victim here. I took a deep breath, telling myself to stay calm. Now was not the time to assign blame. It was time to bolt. I needed to vanish from this room, vanish from this entire world before she woke up. My body suddenly became exceptionally nimble. Step 1. I spent zero point 0.1 seconds meticulously easing my arm out from around her waist. Step 2. Like a cat that had its tail stepped on, I arched my back and used pure core strength to slowly lift myself off the bed. The entire process didn't make a single sound. Landing successfully, I tiptoed barefoot across the cold floor, feeling like a secret agent on a covert mission. Where are my clothes? I was so drunk last night, I vaguely remembered stripping down to my boxers. I looked around. This was clearly a bedroom filled with feminine touches. Pink walls, white furniture, and a vanity overflowing with bottles and jars I couldn't even name. Could this be? I didn't dare pursue that thought, terrified my heart would give out on the spot. I threw my clothes back on at light speed, not even bothering with my socks. Snatching my phone, I darted straight for the exit. 3 paces from the door, 2 paces, 1 pace. My hand touched the doorknob. Victory was right in sight. All I needed to do was turn the knob, dash outside, head downstairs, kick Lucas awake, and pretend as though nothing had ever happened. My life could still be saved. Right at that moment, a cool, lazily spoken voice, a voice I would recognize even if I were dead, sounded from behind. Ethan. Every single hair on my body stood on end. My physical reaction outpaced my brain, freezing me on the spot, my hand glued to the doorknob like a deeply embarrassed wooden statue. Game over. Total disaster. I need to drag the entire planet along and flee into the night. I felt my neck turn like a rusty robot, clicking back bit by bit. On the bed, Willow had sat up. Her silk nightgown hugged the magnificent curves of her body, her long, slightly tousled hair cascading over her shoulders. Those gorgeous eyes stared at me in complete silence, holding an expression that was impossible to read as either pleased or angry. The air froze solid. The awkwardness was so intense, I felt I could dig out a 3-bedroom apartment complete with an underground parking lot using just my toes on the floor. My throat felt bone dry as I tried to explain. Good morning, Willow. Long time no see. I forced out a smile that looked uglier than if I were crying. That's right, long time no see. When did you come back to the country without saying a word? She raised an eyebrow. Do I need to report to you? No, no, no. Of course not. I waved my hands frantically. What I mean is, last night was a misunderstanding, a total misunderstanding. An enigmatic smile curled at the corner of her lips. You crawled into my bed to sleep, and you're calling it a misunderstanding? Absolutely. I pointed outside the door, explaining in a rush. It was Lucas. He had way too much to drink last night and told me to sleep in the guest room. He said the second room on the left. I swear I didn't go into the wrong room. This is definitely his guest room. Why are you here anyway? As I spoke, I cursed Lucas endlessly in my mind. That absolute beast. Hiding treasure in his house is one thing, but hiding my ex-girlfriend? Willow looked at me, her eyes flashing with a complex mix of emotions, partly pity, partly mockery. Lucas. She repeated the name, then casually dropped a bombshell. Are you talking about my older brother? Those 2 words, older brother, struck my head like a sudden bolt of thunder. I stood there dazed, my brain officially crashing, my brain's CPU completely fried. Lucas was Willow's biological brother. The exact same diehard bro who bitched about the boss, ate cheap box lunches, and pulled all-nighters playing games with me at work every single day. Was the older brother of my wealthy ex-girlfriend? What the hell was this? What kind of melodramatic urban romance novel plot had I walked into? I had lived for over 20 years and had no clue my best friend had a younger sister. Well, actually, I knew he had a sister. He had mentioned she was studying abroad, had a terrible temper, and was a total fire-breathing dragon. But even if you beat me to death, I would have never guessed that dragon was Willow, the very girl I had dumped back then, The mysteries of the universe had been solved this morning in a way I was completely incapable of coping with. I gaped at Willow, speechless for a long moment, the massive information overload turning my brain into absolute mush. Willow seemed very satisfied, seeing me frozen like a statue. Throwing off the duvet, she stepped barefoot toward me, one slow step at a time. She was tall, standing only half a head shorter than me, and her powerful aura pressed in so tightly I could barely breathe. Stopping right in front of me, she tilted her head slightly, her gaze brimming with playful mockery. "So, after sleeping with me, you want to pin all the blame on my brother now? I didn't sleep with you," I almost yelled, before immediately feeling guilty and dropping my voice down to a whisper. I just slept next to you," she drawled out slowly. "Oh, is that so? Then what did you want to do to me?" "I didn't want to do anything. I just drank way too much and walked into the wrong room. Big sis, legendary hero, my living bodhisattva. I was wrong. I was truly wrong. Just let me go. I swear I'll take today's matter to my grave. I promise I'll walk the other way whenever I see you from now on." Saying that, I was genuinely ready to drop to my knees on the spot to beg for mercy. But right as my knees were about to touch the floor, knock, knock, knock. A knock sounded at the door, immediately followed by Lucas's loud, brassy voice. "Sis, you awake yet? I made breakfast." "Oh, and where the hell did Ethan go? He was dead drunk last night. Probably still sleeping it off, right?" Willow and I locked eyes. My expression was one of pure terror, utter despair, and a desire to drop dead on the spot. Willow's expression, on the other hand, was the smug satisfaction of someone who had just pulled off a wicked prank. She gave me a playful wink, then suddenly raised her voice, her tone laced with panic and embarrassment. Bro, don't come in. There's someone in my room." I froze solid. "Sister, what on earth are you doing?" "Thanks a million. Really, are you trying to make sure I end up 6 feet under?" Sure enough, Lucas blew his top right outside the door. "What? Someone's in there. Which bastard dared to sneak into my sister's room?" "Hold on, I'm getting the meat cleaver." With that, heavy footsteps went thudding frantically down the stairs. I was scared out of my absolute mind. This wasn't just social death anymore. This was literal physical death. I looked at Willow, my eyes brimming with pure pleading. "My dear lady, what on earth do you actually want?" The panicked look on Willow's face vanished in the blink of an eye, replaced by a mischievous grin. She leaned close to my ear and murmured in a voice only the two of us could hear. "Ethan, the game has begun." Before I could even process the horror hidden behind those 5 words, Lucas came charging back upstairs, brandishing a gleaming meat cleaver. "Which son of a bitch is it? Get the hell out here." He kicked the door wide open with an attitude that looked like a husband catching his cheating wife red-handed. And then he froze dead at the scene inside the room. There I stood, clothes disheveled, having buttoned my shirt completely wrong in my sheer panic, face pale as a sheep beside the door. And there was his sister, Willow, wearing a flimsy nightgown, her eyes rimmed red as she cowered pitifully in the corner of the room. Clang! The meat cleaver in Lucas's hand hit the floor. The expression on his face underwent a spectacular transformation, from roaring rage to shock, to utter disbelief, to sheer confusion, and finally landing on a state of, "Who am I? Where am I? Has the world gone insane?" He looked at me, then back at his sister. Sister." His gaze whipped back and forth between the two of us. Finally, as if realizing something, his face flushed red as a pig's liver. He didn't charge at me. Instead, he rushed straight over to Willow. "Are you okay? What did this beast do to you?" He shielded Willow like a furious mother hen, glaring at me with eyes that could kill. My guilt was written all over my face. What could I even say now? Say that his sister's eyes were defective? Or should I tell him that he was the one who gave me the wrong directions last night, leading to this shocking mix-up? Would he even believe me? Right now, he looked like he just wanted to chop me into pieces and stew me into broth for his sister. "Lucas, man, listen to me." I raised both hands in surrender. "Things aren't what you think." "I don't want to hear it." Lucas's eyes were bloodshot as he pointed straight at my nose. Ethan, I treated you like a brother, and you actually dared to try and become my brother-in-law. No, wait, you absolute beast. My sister just got back to the country, and you already... He was trembling so hard with rage he could barely articulate his words. Looking at his raw, genuine reaction, a terrifying realization suddenly dawned on me. Could Lucas really be completely in the dark? He isn't acting. He genuinely thinks I tried to pull something dirty. I stole a glance at Willow behind him. Her head was bowed, her shoulders shivering violently as if she were sobbing uncontrollably. But from my angle, I could clearly see the corner of her lips curling up, unable to hide her triumphant smirk. I got it. I got the whole damn picture now. This idiot Lucas had been led by the nose from the very beginning. Willow, this scheming woman, had used this misunderstanding to direct the melodramatic family drama of the century. And I was the sole victim dragged into this, to be ruthlessly trampled on. Bro! Willow finally spoke up, her voice so frail and delicate it practically dripped tears. Don't blame him. It's all my fault. How could it be your fault? Lucas exclaimed, his heart breaking for her. It's definitely him. He saw how pretty you are and hatched a wicked idea. Bro, if you keep praising your sister like that, your glaring eyes are going to slice me in half for real. No, it's not like that. Willow shook her head, lifting her tear-stained face to look at me, her eyes overflowing with profound affection and helplessness. Actually, Ethan and we were together back in college. Lucas froze on the spot yet again. Willow kept leaning into her dramatic performance, landing a fatal blow. We've always been deeply in love. It was just a small misunderstanding that drove us apart for a while. Him coming to our house this time was actually because I told him to come. We rekindled our old flame, couldn't help ourselves. Sister, isn't the script you wrote a bit too over the top? Rekindled our old flame, my foot. I drank with your brother last night until I forgot my own name. Lucas's brain was clearly incapable of processing such a massive overload of complex information. He looked at me, then back at his sister, his mouth opening and closing repeatedly. Finally, he slapped his thigh with a loud clack, his face displaying a mix of sudden enlightenment and profound agony. Brilliant, Ethan. A decent-looking guy like you. Turns out you were sneaking around behind my back for years, secretly dating my sister? Bro, is your brain chemistry even normal? Is that the main point right now? The main point is that your sister and I broke up 800 years ago. The main point was that I just wanted to get the hell out of this hellish battleground. So, last night, you two? Lucas's eyes suddenly turned sleazy and full of gossip. Bro, stop asking. Willow stomped her foot coquettishly, her cheeks flushing bright red. To Lucas's ears, stop asking was equivalent to saying we had done absolutely everything. The way he looked at me transformed instantly, from staring at his worst enemy to looking at the neighbor's pig that had just rooted up his prized cabbage patch. It was outrageously complex and beyond description. He walked over, slapped my shoulder hard, and let out a long, heavy sigh. Sigh, whatever, forget it. If my sister's willing, what else can I say? Still, he dropped his voice, using that bro-to-bro, you know what I mean tone to tell me. Pretty impressive, man. But you better take full responsibility for my sister, or I'm coming back with that meat cleaver for real. I wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Looking past him at Willow, who was secretly giving me an okay gesture behind his back before quickly hiding her hand away. I got it. My life was officially ruined starting today. The breakfast that followed was the longest 30 minutes of my entire existence. The three of us sat at the massive dining table, the atmosphere bizarre to the absolute extreme. Every now and then, Lucas would look at me, then glance at his sister, his face wearing the fond, gentle smile of a father-in-law eyeing his new son-in-law, giving me goosebumps all over. Here, Ethan, eat up. Must have been exhausted last night, right? He enthusiastically scooped a fried egg into my bowl. I nearly choked to death on my milk. Holy crap, I was dead drunk last night, not overexerting myself. I looked to Willow for help, hoping she had a shred of conscience left to end this ridiculous prank. Catching my signal, She smiled at me tenderly, picking up a shrimp dumpling and placing it in my bowl. Eat more, look how thin you've gotten. That tone, that demeanor, it was the textbook definition of a perfect, devoted girlfriend. Sitting beside us, Lucas nodded repeatedly, his face beaming with satisfaction, as if thinking, my sister sure is good taste. I was going completely insane. These two siblings, one genuinely dense, the other playing the villainous mastermind, were synchronized without a single flaw, while I was the piece of monk meat being roasted directly over the fire. All right, sis. Lucas suddenly piped up. Haven't mom and dad been nagging you to find a boyfriend nonstop? Now it's great. You've got one right here. When are you bringing him home to meet them? The sip of milk I had just taken squirted straight out of my mouth. Meet the parents? Bro, are you riding a rocket? Isn't this pacing way too fast? I blinked frantically at Lucas, signaling him to stop talking, but he completely misread the signal and grew even more hyped up. I say this weekend. I'll tell mom and dad. They're going to be thrilled out of their minds. My brother-in-law is handsome and has a great job. Simply perfect. Bro. Willow gave him a scolding glare, then turned to look at me, her eyes laced with a mix of bashfulness and anticipation. Ethan, what do you think? What do I think? What the hell can I think? Right now, I just want to jump out the window to save myself. What am I even supposed to say? If I said no, the chopsticks in Lucas's hand would probably turn into throwing darts, pinning themselves straight into my forehead in a heartbeat. If I said yes, my entire future might as well be locked away in this household forever. Looking into Willow's seemingly innocent, yet blatantly threatening, eyes, I gritted my teeth and squeezed out 3 words. Whatever you say. Good boy. Willow smiled in absolute triumph, even reaching out to stroke my head as if soothing a ruffled pet. The humiliation, the fury, yet I was completely helpless. The moment that torture of a breakfast came to an end, I made up an excuse about an urgent matter at work and bolted immediately. Lucas tried to insist I stay, but Willow cut him off with a single sharp glare. Just let him go. Work comes first, she said, sounding impossibly sweet and reasonable. I'll be waiting for you to come home for dinner, okay? That long, tantalizing okay at the end made my scalp go completely numb. I darted out of the mansion like a runaway missile. Standing out in the open air of freedom, I felt like I had just returned from the brink of death. The very first thing I did was pull out my phone to block Lucas's number. Brother's my foot. I treated you like a brother, and you wanted to be my brother-in-law. Before I could hit block, an unknown number rang through. Driven by some ghost or demon, I actually picked up. Willow's voice, drenched in amusement, echoed from the other end. Running away so fast for what? Willow. I lowered my voice, grinding my teeth in sheer desperation. What on earth do you actually want? This game isn't funny at all. Not funny? She chuckled softly. I think it's exceptionally entertaining. Ethan, it's time to pay back what you owed me all those years ago. What do I owe you? Didn't we make things crystal clear when we broke up? I said I wasn't good enough for you, that you should go find someone better. It was a mutual, peaceful breakup. A peaceful breakup? Her voice abruptly turned ice cold. Ethan, do you consider sending a single text message and vanishing off the face of the earth a peaceful breakup? I went completely silent. Back then I really was a coward. Willow had been too good to me, so overwhelmingly good it terrified me. She was a high society heiress, yet she brought me homemade meals, washed my clothes, and mapped out a future for the two of us every single day. Meanwhile, I was just a dirt-poor nobody who had nothing going for him except decent grades. I felt inferior, panicked, and terrified that I couldn't give her the future she deserved. So, I chose the most cowardly way out, running away. That's all in the past now. My voice grew faint. It's not over. Her tone was resolute and hard as steel. As far as I'm concerned, this will never be over. Then what do you want? Revenge? Revenge? She paused briefly before dropping a sentence that blew my mind completely. No, I want you to marry me. And marry? I questioned whether my hearing had malfunctioned. Had this woman lost her mind? Just because I dumped her back then, she wanted to use marriage as revenge now. What kind of sick new S&M game was this? Torturing me for the rest of my life. You heard right. Willow's voice left no room for negotiation. Marry me, but it'll be a fake marriage. I stood there, even more bewildered than before, as she began to explain. My parents have been nagging me like crazy. Every single day, they arrange blind dates for me. It's utterly insufferable. I need a shield, and you, Ethan, are the best candidate right now. Why me? Because you passed my brother's scrutiny. Right now, he's fully convinced you're my boyfriend, which makes for the ultimate cover. Second, you're someone whose background I know inside out. Even though you're a bit cowardly, at least your brain still functions properly and you won't cause major trouble. Third, she paused deliberately. You slept in my bed and got caught red-handed by my brother. Is that leverage heavy enough for you? Enough. It was more than enough. Right now, standing before her, I was like a snake pinned precisely at its vital spot, completely stripped of the strength to resist. What do I get out of this? I tried to put up a feeble struggle. What do you get? She reacted as if she had just heard the funniest joke in the world. Ethan, getting involved with a girl like me is a blessing that countless men can only dream of. What more could you possibly want? Fine, fine. Feeling like she was in a good mood, she graciously tossed me a bit of bait. A 1-year contract. During this year, you'll pretend to be my boyfriend and help me deal with my parents and the annoying flies buzzing around me. In return, I'll pay you this much. She named a figure, and I drew in a sharp breath. That amount was more money than I could earn in 10 years of backbreaking labor. The sheer destructive power of money was terrifying. What little pitiable pride I had left instantly crumbled before that figure. Deal. I heard my own utterly shameful voice say. Very good, Willow replied, satisfied. Come to the top floor of Fortune Group at 5 p.m. to sign the contract. Don't be late. With that, she hung up. I held the phone, standing dazed in the breeze. Fortune Group. Wasn't that the largest flagship enterprise in this entire city? I pulled out my phone and searched for the CEO of Fortune Group. A face both familiar and unfamiliar popped up on the screen. Willow in the photo was wearing a sharp business suit, her hair pinned up high, her gaze razor-sharp, radiating an imposing aura. She was every bit the domineering female CEO, completely different from the white-dress college student in my memories or the dramatic White Lotus she had played this morning. It suddenly hit me. I seemed to have messed with an exceptionally dangerous figure. Playing her temporary boyfriend for a year was probably not going to be as easy as I had thought. This wasn't paying off a debt. This was jumping from one pit straight into an even bigger one. That afternoon, I arrived right on time at the base of the Fortune Group skyscraper. Looking up at the glass monolith piercing the sky and dripping with tech firm elegance, I felt like a dwarf lost in a kingdom of giants. Taking a deep breath, I adjusted my one decent suit and took the plunge inside. The receptionist was gorgeous, her voice sweet as sugar. Upon hearing my name, she flashed a professional yet subtle smile. Mr. Ethan, CEO Willow is expecting you. Please take the private executive elevator. A few hours later, and I've become the contract boyfriend of a domineering female CEO. Life's twists and turns are way too intense. In the CEO's office on the top floor, Willow was sitting in front of a floor-to-ceiling glass wall, looking out over the city horizon. Hearing me enter, she turned around. She had changed into a fitted red dress that accentuated her porcelain-white skin, making her look as dazzling as a flame. You're here? She gestured with her chin toward the chair opposite her. Take a seat. I sat awkwardly on the sofa. She pushed a stack of documents toward me. Take a look. If there are no issues, sign it. I picked up the relationship contract to read. The terms were so detailed it was downright frightening. Party A, Willow. Party B, Ethan. Term, 1 year. Party B's obligations. Must be on call 24/7. Must play the role of a deeply devoted boyfriend in front of Party A's parents, relatives, and friends. Physical contact. Holding hands, hugging, must be natural and without resistance. Must memorize all of Party A's preferences. Favorite foods, colors, movies, and pet peeves. Must publicly state that the two have been secretly dating for years and are passionately in love. Special clause. During the contract period, Party B is strictly forbidden from having any improper relationships with any other woman. My eyelids twitched wildly. Is this a relationship contract or a deed of self-sale? Hold on. I pointed at a clause about physical contact. Does physical contact include kissing? Willow took a sip of her coffee and glanced at me. Depends on the situation. If the script requires it, you must comply. And what about this? I pointed to another section. No relationships with other women. Does that mean I can't even have normal female friends? Correct, she replied decisively. How could the boyfriend of Willow be running around with female friends on the side? Every female contact in your phone must be deleted before tonight. On what grounds? That's my personal freedom. I began to panic. On this ground. She tapped a finger on the compensation figure on the final page. I instantly deflated. Fine. You're paying the bills, so you're the boss. I'll swallow my pride. I kept reading. Party A's obligations. Pay monthly compensation. The figure made my heart skip a beat. Cover all expenses appropriate for Party B's status as the CEO's boyfriend, including clothes, cars, and housing. Additional bonus upon contract completion if performance is satisfactory. Seeing the word housing, my eyes lit up. Provide housing? Does that mean upgrading my current dog kennel? No. Willow shook her head. Starting today, you're moving in with me. What? How else do you expect to prevent my loudmouth brother from running his mouth outside? Don't worry, my place is huge. You can pick any room you want except mine. We'll share a roof, but we'll mind our own business, unless there are outsiders present, of course. I got it. Loving couple in public, roommates in private. I had a sinking feeling that my next year was going to be an Oscar-worthy performance. Any more questions? What questions could I possibly have left? The fish was already on the chopping block. I picked up the pen and scribbled my name in elegant strokes under Party B. The moment my pen lifted, a smug smile appeared at the corner of Willow's lips. I had a bad feeling that what I had just signed wasn't a contract, but a one-way ticket straight to either heaven or hell. The moving process went far faster than I had anticipated. That very afternoon, Willow dispatched her assistant along with a moving truck to my tiny rented room, which wasn't even 30 square meters. The gold-rimmed glasses assistant looked at my messy, cluttered room, his face twitching slightly, though he maintained a professional demeanor. Mr. Ethan, what would you like to bring along? I looked around, a pile of unwashed laundry, a few boxes of instant noodles, and an old PC I had used to grind games for 5 years. Nothing seemed worth much. Just the computer, I said awkwardly. The assistant nodded and directed the movers to pack up my precious treasure. Afterward, he handed me a sleek black card. Mr. Ethan, CEO Willow prepared this for you. She mentioned that you need a completely fresh look to fit your role as her boyfriend. Holding the legendary black card in my hands, my fingers trembled slightly. So, this is the world of the wealthy. Even an ex-boyfriend who got dumped years ago gets this kind of royal treatment upon his return. I suddenly felt that being dragged back into her life wasn't entirely unacceptable after all. Bah, Ethan, hold on to your moral integrity. Don't let money corrupt you. But damn, it really smells like pure luxury. And so, escorted by the assistant, I stepped into the city's most high-end luxury shopping mall for the very first time in my life. From tailored suits, ties, and leather belts to wristwatches, and even brand-new underwear and socks, everything was top-tier designer gear. When I looked at myself in the mirror, draped in an exquisitely cut handmade suit and sporting a watch whose brand I couldn't even name but looked outrageously expensive, even I was stunned. Is that handsome, striking guy in the mirror really me? Indeed, fine clothes make the man. The ancients truly didn't lie to me. As twilight fell, a Rolls-Royce delivered me to an ultra-exclusive villa neighborhood I had only ever seen on TV. The car pulled up in front of a mansion even more magnificent than Lucas's place. This was Willow's home, and my prison for the coming year. Willow was already home. She had changed into a silk loungewear dress, her hair loosely pinned up, stripping away her daytime sharpness and adding a touch of lazy charm. You're back. She swept her eyes over me. You actually look human now. Thanks for the compliment. Your room is on the second floor, the easternmost one at the far end. Everything has been prepared. Go up and check it out yourself. I went upstairs, pushed the door open, and was greeted by a room that was absurdly huge, bigger than my entire old apartment. It featured floor-to-ceiling windows, a spacious balcony, a walk-in closet, and an en-suite bathroom. Everything inside, from the toiletries to the clothes, belonged to brand-new, top-tier luxury brands. My old computer sat alone on the massive desk, looking profoundly out of place. Sprawling across the giant bed, I gazed up at the magnificent crystal chandelier on the ceiling, feeling as though I were dreaming. Just then, a knock sounded at the door, and Willow stepped in. "There's a charity gala tomorrow night. You're coming with me." "Huh, we're diving straight into business this fast." She nodded. "My parents will be there too. This is our first official public appearance together. Zero mistakes allowed." She handed me a thick stack of documents. "This covers the event itinerary and profiles of key guests. You need to memorize it tonight, especially the details on my parents, their preferences, and their taboos. Not a single word wrong." Holding the file, I realized it was longer than a college final exam study guide. "One more thing," she added. "Starting now, you need to change how you address me." "Change to what?" She looked at me, emphasizing each word. "You are no longer allowed to call me by my full name, Willow. You have to call me Willow in that close way, or just Willow without the last name." My heart skipped a beat. I hadn't called her that in 8 years. "And in public?" I asked. "In public." The corner of her lips curled up slightly, her eyes brimming with playful mischief. "Call me your baby to. A man can be killed, but not humiliated." Then again, she was paying way too much money. I took a deep breath and forced out what I believed to be my most deeply devoted smile. "Sure thing, my baby." Saying those words gave me absolute goosebumps, but Willow looked immensely satisfied. She turned to leave, but paused at the doorway. "Ethan?" "Yeah, welcome home." With that, she closed the door behind her. I stood there dazed, my heart a chaotic swirl of emotions. Home? Could a place like this really be called home? In this absurd game, will I even manage to get out alive? The charity gala the following evening proved to be another pinnacle of social death in my life. Dressed in the high-end suit she had prepared, I walked arm in arm with her into a dazzling, golden banquet hall packed with prominent figures. I felt every single gaze scanning me like a spotlight, some curious, some probing, some envious, and others full of disdain. I could clearly hear the whispers echoing around us. "Who's that guy? Never seen him before." To be Willow's boyfriend, his background must be pretty incredible, right? "Looks like a toy boy, probably kept by CEO Willow." The smile on my face froze solid, and my hand resting on Willow's arm unconsciously tightened. "Nervous?" she whispered softly into my ear. "Obviously," I replied through gritted teeth. "Try being surrounded and gawked at like a monkey in a zoo. Stand up straight." Her voice remained entirely calm and composed. "You currently represent my face. Bring out that same audacity you had when calling me your baby yesterday. This woman is unequivocally getting her revenge on me." Before long, a middle-aged couple radiating effortless grace and luxury approached us. The man exuded authority, while the woman was gentle and refined, their facial features sharing a clear resemblance with Willow and Lucas. No need to ask. These were my future parents-in-law. "Dad, Mom." Willow greeted them with a smile. "Willow," Mrs. Vance took her daughter's hand before turning her gaze onto me, her eyes filled with scrutiny. "And this is?" Here it comes, the very first question of the ultimate trial. I immediately flashed a textbook, eight-tooth smile, and bowed slightly. "Hello, sir, madam. Hello. I'm Ethan, Willow's boyfriend." Saying those last 3 words made me feel like an actor taking a solemn oath. Mr. Vance gave a low grunt, his expression unreadable, though his razor-sharp eyes looked as if they could see right through me. Mrs. Vance, on the other hand, was much warmer. She held my hand with a gentle, beaming smile. "Ethan, dear, Lucas told us that you and Willow have been together since college. Why haven't you visited us all these years?" Question 2. The fatal strike. My brain worked at maximum capacity, recalling the study material from last night. "Auntie, I'm truly sorry. It was my fault. I put on a face that was equal parts apologetic and deeply devoted. Back then, I wasn't good enough and felt I didn't deserve Willow, so I didn't dare face you too. Over the past few years, I've been working tirelessly, all in the hope that one day I could stand by her side openly and proudly. Saying those words almost moved even me to tears. Sure enough, Mrs. Vance's smile deepened, her eyes brimming with admiration. What a good child, so ambitious. Even Mr. Vance's stern face softened noticeably. Just as I thought I had passed the hurdle smoothly, a discordant voice cut in. Ethan? Which Ethan? How come I've never heard of such a figure in our social circles? A young man wearing a flashy pink suit with slicked back, glossy hair strolled over. Walking beside him was Lucas. When Lucas saw me, his eyes lit up, and he marched over to pull me into a tight hug. Brother-in-law, you finally showed up. I've been looking everywhere for you. I nearly lost my breath from his bare hug. Hey, Lucas. I wriggled out of his grip. And who is this? The guy in the pink suit looked me up and down, his eyes packed with disdain and hostility. Oh, right, forgot to introduce you. Lucas announced loudly. This is my brother-in-law, Ethan. Ethan, this is Victor, the young master of the Stone Enterprises Group. Victor. The profile immediately flashed in my mind. The sole heir of Stone Enterprises, one of Willow's relentless suitors. Arrogant, domineering, and officially my love rival. Brother-in-law? Victor let out a sneering laugh. For someone to be Miss Willow's boyfriend, he must be quite the talent. Where are you currently working? Checking my background, huh? I was just about to stick to the script Willow gave me, saying I worked as a consultant at an investment firm when Willow beat me to the punch. She wrapped her arm around mine, rested her head lightly on my shoulder, and spoke in a voice dripping with sweet, boastful affection. He isn't working right now. The entire venue fell dead silent. Me, Lucas, Victor, everyone stared at Willow as if thinking, are you freaking kidding me? I felt the whole world spinning around me. Sister, that wasn't in the script. What are you trying to do? Publicly announce that you're keeping a toy boy in front of everyone. As if he had just heard the greatest joke on earth, Victor burst out laughing. Ha! Not working. CEO Willow, your tastes are truly unique. Passing up on so many young talents like us, only to pick a soft rice eater who lives off a woman. Snickers echoed through the crowd, and the expressions on Mr. and Mrs. Vance's faces instantly turned extremely unsightly. My face was burning, and I wished for nothing more than to find a hole in the ground to crawl into. Willow, what on earth are you playing at? Yet, Willow didn't flinch in the slightest. She raised her head, swept her eyes across the room with the aura of a queen, and dropped a line that left everyone's jaw on the floor. Who says he's a soft rice eater? He just sold off his family's business and is preparing to enter my group to start at the entry level, all to learn how to become a qualified heir. She turned to look at me with deep affection, her voice not overly loud, yet clear enough for everyone around us to hear. After all, everything I own, won't it all belong to him in the end anyway? Me, Ethan, a dead ordinary office worker, on this very night in 2026 had just been publicly declared by his domineering CEO ex-girlfriend to be the sole heir of a multi-billion-dollar empire. The sensation at that moment felt as if a giant steamed bun made of pure money had plummeted from the sky and flattened my head, leaving me completely dizzy. The entire banquet hall fell dead silent. Victor, who had been sneering with pride just a moment ago, stood mouth agape, looking like he had swallowed a fly. Only that idiot Lucas, after a brief moment of daze, was the very first to break in a loud applause. Nice. Well said. My sister is absolute fire. Brother-in-law, from now on, our family... Oh no, this entire Fortune group will have to rely on you. Rely on me? Rely on what? Rely on my team-carrying skills in video games. I felt my legs turn as soft as jelly. If Willow hadn't been holding my arm to prop me up, I probably would have performed a weeping kneel right there in front of all these big shots. Willow, you... I leaned close to her ear, whispering in a voice as faint as a mosquito's buzz. Have you lost your mind? Keep quiet, she replied in a lowered voice, though her lips maintained a flawless smile. Just keep smiling, and hold on to that aura of a future CEO for me. I had no choice but to force out a stiff smile. What aura? I just want to log off from planet Earth right now. The storm of public opinion concluded with Victor slinking away in sheer humiliation, while I, under the dual identities of the mysterious boyfriend and the future heir of Fortune Group, became famous across the entire high society circle overnight. After the gala, inside the Rolls-Royce taking us back home, I finally couldn't hold it in any longer and exploded. Willow, what on earth are you actually trying to do? Do you have any idea what you said tonight? You're shoving me to my death. You're stringing me up on a burning stake. She leisurely took off her high heels, rubbed her ankles, and replied in a calm tone, "Of course I know. Wasn't the effect fantastic? Flies like Victor won't dare bother me ever again. But you can't use me as a shield in such a ridiculous way. Inherit what? I can't even finish a decent PowerPoint presentation. What am I supposed to inherit? Who said you're just a shield?" She raised her head to look at me, her eyes flashing with a light I couldn't comprehend. "Ethan, I was completely serious." "Serious about what?" "Serious about wanting you to become my heir." I was entirely baffled by her words. "Why?" "Because you're smart," she said. "Back in college, your grades were always at the top. The project proposals you wrote received endless praise, even from our professors. You were only missing an opportunity and a little bit of confidence." She stared at me, her eyes burning bright. "Ethan, it wasn't that you weren't good enough for me. You just didn't dare fight for the things you truly deserved. You are a diamond covered in dust, and my job now is to polish you until you shine." I was stunned into silence. It was the very first time I had ever heard such words come out of her mouth. It wasn't revenge, nor was it a joke. It was a bold affirmation that made my heart skip a beat. "So," I asked softly, "do I really have to go to your company and start from the bottom?" "Of course," she nodded. "Starting tomorrow, you report to the marketing department. Your title will be my special assistant." "How is that starting from the bottom?" "Being right by my side is the bottom," she commanded, leaving no room for objection. "I want you to see with your own eyes how I work. I want you to learn everything you need to know." She paused for a brief moment, then added, 1 year. "I'm giving you 1 year. If you're still a piece of soft mud that can't stick to the wall after a year, our contract will be automatically canceled. I won't owe you a single penny, and after that, we owe nothing to each other." "And what if I'm not soft mud?" I asked, driven by some inexplicable impulse. She smiled, a smile like a rose blooming in the dark, laced with a deadly temptation. "When that time comes, we turn this fake marriage into a real one." From that night on, my life veered onto a track I had never dared to dream of. I officially became the special assistant to the CEO of Fortune Group. The news sent shockwaves through the entire company. Everyone knew I was the CEO's boyfriend and the future heir. Because of that, my treatment at work was absurdly surreal. On one hand, no one dared to offend me. Everyone met me with a respectful "Assistant Ethan." On the other hand, everyone looked at me like I was a pampered toy boy, whispering behind my back about what kind of miracle worker I must be to have charmed their regal queen. My actual workload was indeed very entry-level. Every morning, I made coffee for Willow, sat beside her taking meeting minutes, served as a background extra when she met clients, and ordered late-night takeout with her whenever we worked overtime. I felt less like a special assistant and more like a personal butler. Yet Willow was genuinely teaching me. She threw financial reports at me to analyze, let me sit in on top-level board meetings, and handed over tough project files just to ask for my input. In the beginning, I was completely out of my depth, messing up at every turn. But slowly, the knowledge from my college years and the business acumen I had neglected for so long began to awaken, piece by piece. I started making sense of complex financial statements, keeping up with the board members' trains of thought, and even offering unique insights on a few key projects. Every time I pitched a solid idea, Willow would look at me with a smile of genuine approval, a smile that brought me far more satisfaction than any performance bonus ever could. The dynamic between us gradually grew subtler as well. We were no longer strictly Party A and Party B, nor did we feel like a boss and her subordinate. We felt like comrades in arms pushing forward together in the business arena. pulling all-nighters for the success of a project, and high-fiving in an empty office after closing a massive deal. I began to catch glimpses of another side to her, hidden beneath her domineering CEO mask. When she was exhausted, she would lean against my shoulder and drift off to sleep. Every time her stomach ached, she would act spoiled like a little girl, insisting I brew ginger and brown sugar tea for her. She would even quietly transfer a pretty new intern to the department furthest away from mine, simply because she saw me chatting with her a bit too much. I came to realize that I no longer hated this life. In fact, I was actually enjoying it. One night, after another late shift, I made her a mug of hot milk. Leaning against the sofa and gazing out at the night cityscape through the window, she asked out of nowhere, "Ethan, do you still remember that barbecue joint we used to go to back in college?" I paused, then nodded. "Of course I do. That was the place where we had our very first date. It was torn down last month." Her voice carried a subtle tinge of loss. "Is that so?" A soft melancholy swelled in my heart as well. "Ethan," she turned her head, looking at me with utmost seriousness. "Did you ever regret it?" I went silent. Regret it? Throughout those 8 years, I had told myself countless times that I didn't regret my choice. I had convinced myself that walking away was the best thing for her. But now, looking at this brilliant, dazzling woman who occasionally revealed her vulnerability right before my eyes, the answer inside my heart began to shatter. If I hadn't run away back then, if I had been just a little braver, what would our present look like? My lips parted, but I didn't know what to say. "Forget it." She let out a self-deprecating laugh. "It's all in the past anyway." She stood up, preparing to return to her room. Watching her retreating back, I acted on pure impulse, reaching out and pulling her into a tight embrace from behind. Her body went rigid. "Willow." I buried my face in the crook of her neck, breathing in her familiar scent, my voice raspy. "I do regret it. Ever since the day you left 8 years ago, I've regretted it every single day. I was a coward, a total bastard. I was terrified I couldn't make you happy, terrified I didn't deserve you. But there wasn't a single day that I ever forgot you. Can you give me one more chance? This time, I won't run away ever again." She didn't say a word, but I felt warm teardrops falling onto the back of my hands. After a very long silence, she turned around, her eyes rimmed red as she stared at me. Then, standing on her tiptoes, she pressed her lips against mine. This kiss carried none of the innocence of 8 years ago. Instead, it was brimming with the intense passion of someone who had just reclaimed a lost treasure, and the profound, devoted love that had been suppressed for so many years. When the kiss finally ended, she rested her forehead against mine, catching her breath as she looked at me with a soft smile. "Ethan, you absolute idiot, welcome home."